Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and I have a very important question to ask all of you. Would you like to join me in the spoiler dance party? I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so, Hueco Mundo arc. Well, Orihime got captured at the end of the last arc, so Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad are rushing to Hueco Mundo to try to rescue her. They arrive in an underground section, and Uryu and Chad take out these two weak-ass Oronkars that nobody will care about or remember their name in future chapters. They manage to get to the surface, and it turns out Hueco Mundo is a giant fucking sandbox with a giant birthday cake in the middle, so they start heading that way. Along the way, they spot what seems to be like a little girl being chased by three hollows, so they go to try to help out, when it turns out the little girl wasn't a little girl at all. And that's how most people become sexual predators. But no, it turns out that the little girl is actually another hollow, an Oronkar to be specific, named Nell 2, and she has her three brothers, Pesce, Dondachaka, as well as a pet named Bawa Baba, that are just kind of like hanging out in the desert of Hueco Mundo, just endlessly playing tag. Nell becomes somewhat attached to Ichigo and decides to show him the entrance to Las Noches. However, before they can get there, they have to face a giant sand hollow known as Rununganga. However, there's only one way to defeat Rununganga, and that's with water. Oh shit, well, they're out of luck in that situation, aren't they? And Rukia and Renji show up, and he's defeated quite handily. So the five manage to break into Las Noches Palace, surprisingly easily actually, security kind of blows, but they're then met with five very conveniently placed hallways. They each decide to split up in order to cover the most ground to try to find Orihime. My question is though, what would have happened if Renji and Rukia would have not shown up when they did? The fuck would they have done then? So now follows Ichigo down one of the pathways, who ends up fighting one of the Pre-Verone, or Fallen Espada, number 103, Dordonio del Arios del Circaccio. I think I got that right. But anyway, this would be truly an enemy worthy of Ichigo's steel. Nah, it's just Iris dancing instructor from Season 1 of Game of Thrones. Ichigo kicks his ass. Next up, Uryu and Pesce encounter another Pre-Verone Espada, number 105, Tsuruchi Sanda Witch, or Tsuruchi Sandor Bitch, as she would later be known. She's kind of into the whole gothic thing going on there. Uryu pulls a lightsaber out of his pants and runs her right through with it. However, he's not the one to finish her off. That would be the Yakikias, or the Execution Squad. See, these guys are just kind of roaming around Las Noches, not really like interfering with Ichigo's group in particular. Basically, they're the cleanup committee. They show up after the enemies, after one of the Espada or one of the Oronkars have been defeated, and then they finish them off because they failed in their mission, you know, to loyally obey Lord Aizen, I suppose. Yeah, Aizen, he kind of shows up in this arc too, but for the most part, he's just kind of hanging out in his throne room, just chilling and just acting like a mouse. Next up is Chad, who is fighting yet another Pre-Verone Espada, number 107, Gantenbein Mosqueda. He's a 70s Afro rocker dude, and Chad has to go through not one, but two power-ups in this fight to manage to defeat him. And then immediately gets bitch-slapped by Noitora Jiruga, Espada number 5, and he's taken out of this arc altogether. Oh, Chad, we love you so much. The end of Rukia's pass actually connects her with the Palace of Arinero Aruru area, Espada number 9, with the ability to shapeshift into Rukia's former lieutenant and close friend, Kaien Shiba. That guy that died back in the Soul Society arc, you know, Rukia was reminiscing about how she had to kill him. Well, it turns out that when he died, the hollow that was possessing him returned to Las Noches, of which Arinero was able to consume and absorb his essence as well as his Zanpakuto. Anyway, Arinero does his creepy-ass tentacle hentai resurrection, which turns him into a massive octopus with the power of over 50,000 hollows! Holy shit, 50,000 hollows! There's no way Rukia's gonna be able to kill this guy in the obvious fuck you spot that's the dome on his head. Probably should have sprung for the plexiglass there, bro. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is probably the last cool thing Rukia's gonna do for the next 5 or 6 years. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Renji and Dondachaka end up fighting Espada number 8, Sailaporo Grans, but that fight, we'll get back to that in a second. Going back to Ichigo, he's fighting against Espada number 4, Ukiura Schiffer, the one that originally arrived in Karakura Town. Ichigo believes that he's actually the first Espada, the strongest, so he figures if he takes him out, then Orihime's just theirs. Kind of in a shock for when Ukiura reveals his true rank, and literally beats the shit out of him before just stabbing him in the heart. Not the finest hour for old Ichigo there. So going back to the fight with Renji, Uryu shows up on the scene after defeating Tsuruchi and manages to use an awesome Quincy technique to blow Seio right the fuck up! Before he just eats one of his fractions, healing all of his wounds, hacks, and leaves the room in order to change his clothing. Yeah, I guess the moral of the story here is never trust a guy that has pink hair. Anyway, going back to Ichigo, that's on death's door quite literally, Grimmjow shows up on the scene with Orihime and tow in order to heal Ichigo's wounds so Grimmjow can just fight him to the death himself. Ukiura arrives on the scene and Grimmjow and Ukiura have a really cool fight before Grimmjow just traps him in this pocket dimension type deal and he's pretty much sucked out of the rest of the arc. Then Ichigo's wounds are healed and they're finally ready for some epic bloody gore battle. Ichigo, Hollow Mask, Grimmjow, Panther ripping your freaking jugular vein out, Resurrection, and awesome fight, and it's over. Ichigo manages to win just freaking barely. He's severely battle damaged, and Grimmjow's not even completely defeated. Of course, then he's bitch stabbed by Noitora, knocking him out of the entire series. But anyway, he's knocked down, and Noitora fights against Ichigo, who, as I said, is completely battered and broken, so he about has the extent of a 3-year-old kitten fighting against a hippopotamus in this scene. Anyway, going back to Sailaparo, he arrives back on the scene with a new pair of clothing, immediately goes into Resurrection and removes his clothing, so that was completely, that made a lot of sense. Also, we find out that Ciel is kind of the perverted one of the Espada. Yeah, and this guy's kind of a sicko. Also, Ciel's kind of annoying in his own unique way. He's able to create these carbon clones of Uryu and the gang to kind of fight against them, and he's also able to create these really freaky voodoo doll type things that enable him to break the bones and organs of his enemies. So Uryu and Reggie are kind of handily defeated in this moment, until, don't worry, I know it looks kind of hopeless, but this is manga, and as we all know, it's not over until the cute little girl turns into a hot chick with a big rack. Nell turns into a hot chick with a big rack, and it also turns out that she used to be Espada number 3. She handily is a more than a match for Noitora that almost manages to kill him. Also, Pesce and Dondochaka were also her former subordinates, so they're a lot stronger than they let on, and they managed to almost kill Ciel, but they both fail. Nell goes back to her regular child form. Ciel knew about Pesce and Dondochaka from the very beginning, so their attack fails, and now it looks like everything's all said and done when, boom, Kenpachi shows up! Yes! He manages to cut down Noitora's Fraction Tesla quite handily, and now the fight is on. We have Mayuri that shows up to fight against Ciel, we have Byakuya that shows up against Espada number 7, Zomori, who is about to kill Rukia, and we have Retsu and Ohana showing up just to heal everybody's wounds. Yeah, that must be really smart for the Soul Society, you know, that whole, we're not going to help you out because we have bigger shit to deal with. Yeah, whatever happened to that? Fucking love Bleach. Byakuya shreds Zomori the fastest, manages to take him out and rescues Rukia. Mayuri manages to take out Ciel by injecting him with this drug, which brings new meaning to the phrase slow death. Nemu also kind of dies in the middle of the crossfire, but she comes back to life because Mayuri's just able to do that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Then we have the longest fight, which is Kenpachi versus Noitora. Really awesome. Noitora goes into Resurrection, which is like a praying mantis form, and he actually has the upper hand. It's the first time in the entire series Kenpachi's actually thinking that he might die if this continues, so he just decided to use his ultimate technique, 2 hands! And manages to take out Noitora in that epic freaking slice of the century, so he's wiped out. So, with all the battles finished in the Shinigami's favor, Ichigo's like, awesome, we managed to save Orihime! Not! She gets warped away by Stark, another Espada, and manages to get taken all the way back to Aizen's throne room. So, big finale of this cluster screw, Aizen reveals that it was all exactly as planned, and manages to seal off all the Shinigami in Hueco Mundo before stating that he's going to invade Karakura Town, reap all the citizens there, and create the Oaken in order for him to invade the Soul Palace and take his rightful place as god of everything. But it turns out the Shinigami were aware of this, so they created a fake Karakura Town. But it turns out that Aizen knew about this fake Karakura Town and figures to attack it anyway. But it also turns out that all the captains and lieutenants knew about this and all head to Karakura Town in order to have this big epic fight with Aizen and his Espada. But it turns out that coconuts aren't really nuts, they're actually seeds. That last statement had really nothing to do with anything, but it's true. But anyway, to wrap the arc up, and with this big epic battle on the horizon, Ukiura is eventually freed from the pocket dimension. He stands in the Tower of Las Noches, and he's waiting for Ichigo to come and rescue Orihime and have their climactic final battle, which leads into one of the biggest disappointing arcs in the entire series, in my opinion anyway. We'll catch you back here next time for the fake Karakura Town arc. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here.